Hey folks, a wee while back during 2025, I created a two-part episode to the lore of Zelda's famous NPC series. Those videos were looking at the NPCs with cool and potentially missed stories found in the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Now, they were originally done in two parts, as I wasn't sure of the overall interest in the series as that was the first entry. As I now prepare to take a little time off here on YouTube during January to reset and recharge myself, I've put together both parts into one seamless episode for your viewing pleasure. But don't worry folks, there's new content in the works already that I'm very excited to share with you later this month. So whether this is a rewatch for you or your first time seeing these episodes, be sure to go and grab yourself a delicious snack and drink for the video folks. Subscribe for lots more Zelda content coming throughout 2026. Drop a wee like down below if you're feeling cheeky, and without further ado folks, please enjoy some good old Legend of Zelda NPC lore. The infamous Sheikah tribe seen in Ocarina of Time play an important role in the game's story, the majority of which is through one character known as Impa. That is a name you might have heard in more than one Zelda game, and that's because Impa is a reoccurring character. Being a Sheikah, Impa has close ties to the royal family of Hyrule. Typically, the one bearing this name plays the role of Princess Zelda's advisor and/or guardian, and in this game, it is no different. Impa was born and raised in Kakariko Village, the home of the Sheikah tribe. Whilst the tribe are not as prominent as they once were, her role as a Sheikah is just as important as she is Princess Zelda's personal guard. She would have grown up in a Sheikah-controlled Kakariko village, one different to the settlement we see today, but we know that prior to the events of the game, a civil war took place across the kingdom, and as a result of this, Kakariko village was opened up to the people of Hyrule, no longer exclusively a Sheikah settlement. If you want to learn more about the lore of Kakariko village, be sure to check out my location lore video on Ocarina of Time. It was likely around the same point in time of the village opening up that this incarnation of Impa teamed up with Princess Zelda and became her personal guardian. For the entirety of the child era of the game, Impa can be found by Zelda's side. Her role as a Sheikah guardian to the princess has been an ingrained part of Hyrule's culture for many ages. This tradition dates back to the early ages of Skyward Sword, where once again a Sheikah elder known as Impa watched over Zelda. When Link first meets Impa, she towers over the young hero, but instantly sees his potential, sensing that there's a reason he's here, perhaps her Sheikah intuition. In fact, Impa is the one who teaches Link Zelda's Lullaby, a song that would be crucial to progressing through his quest. She also helps the young hero exit the castle and set him off on the quest. In terms of the in-game lore, Impa is quite pivotal in directing the young hero during the early stages of his quest. We'd later meet her again, though only briefly, as after completing the first 3 dungeons of the game, Link heads back to Castletown, only to encounter Princess Zelda and Impa fleeing rapidly on horseback, with the King of Evil Ganondorf hot on their tracks. In order for Link to keep progressing, Zelda threw the Ocarina of Time for Link to collect. However, Link would go on to jump 7 years into the future with this ocarina, being held within the Chamber of Sages after going through the Temple of Time. This is until he reaches a time in which he is actually ready to be the hero. But what happened to Impa and Zelda during those 7 years that Link was asleep? Where did they run off to in the years that we don't see the events of in-game? During the 7-year slumber of the hero, Ganondorf was busy taking over Hyrule, erecting his ginormous castle, destroying settlements, and spreading corruption across the kingdom. His hunt for Princess Zelda never ended, and throughout those 7 long years, the princess remained in hiding. Impa played a vital role here. As Zelda's personal guardian, Impa was switched on for every moment of this time, ensuring that Zelda was safe. You need to keep in mind that Zelda was just a child. Impa essentially raised her into early adulthood until a time came where Zelda could take care of herself. Impa even helped Zelda to create an entirely alternative persona, Sheik, a Sheikah appearance disguised to stay hidden from Ganondorf and his minions. But it wasn't just an outfit. Impa trained Zelda to be stealthy, stick to the shadows, and how to defend herself. Zelda learned so much from Impa during these years, showing just how important she was to the princess. When the time came that Zelda could look after herself, Impa returned to her home of Kakariko Village, as that also held significant importance to her. She returned to battle an old evil that she herself had sealed away at the bottom of the well many years ago, though it has now escaped and moved to the Forbidden Shadow Temple. This leads to Link's adventure into the game's 7th dungeon, and beating the boss results in Impa being awakened as one of the sages. With full confidence in the hero to go and finish the job, ensuring safety for the princess, the newly awakened sage prepares for the final push against Ganondorf and gives Link the Shadow Medallion. Impa is one of the most significant characters in this game. She plays a pivotal role in guiding both Link and Zelda throughout the story, though we don't see as much of her guiding Zelda as it happens during the 7-year slumber. She has a lot of lore behind her character that we don't learn. In this time frame, she's one of very few Sheikah around, and does so much work behind the scenes that we don't see, especially in raising Zelda during her years of hiding, and helping her to create the alternative persona Princess Zelda takes on, known as Sheik. Not only is her relationship with the princess a royal part of Hylian history, with Impa being the only one to believe Zelda's visions, but it turns out Impa is the Sage of Shadow, and she plays a crucial role in the sealing of Ganon. In Link's home Kokiri Forest, we can meet someone who would be considered Link's close friend, perhaps his best friend. One of the many Kokiri children of the forest, Saria. She is the first NPC outside of Navi that we talk to during our adventure. Right after leaving Link's house, we talk to Saria. Despite being Hylian, Link was raised in this whimsical forest settlement. Growing up, one of the Kokiri who really bonded with Link was Saria, a child of the forest. Whilst some made fun of Link for not having a fairy companion, as most Kokiri do, until the beginning of Ocarina of Time anyway, Saria was kind to Link, and as the hero grew up, he and Saria shared many great memories together. Though as one was Kokiri and the other not, it was only a matter of time before things changed. You see, the children of the forest don't grow up, unless they were to leave. Link is not a child of the forest, he just grew up here. He was always going to grow up. Destined to be the hero, coming of age, Link is tasked with leaving the forest and finding Princess Zelda, by instruction of the late great Deku Tree, the guardian deity of the forest. As Link leaves the forest, crossing over the bridge out to Hyrule Field, Saria was waiting for Link, standing to catch a goodbye to her dear friend. In an emotional exchange, Saria gifted Link the fairy ocarina and asked him to come back and visit. And visit he does. After finding Princess Zelda, Link returns to the forest in order to find Saria, who is at the sacred forest meadow. This is where Link learns Saria's song, which when played allows him to telepathically speak with Saria, as well as being used to progress through Goron City, as Darunia thinks it's an absolute fire beat. And he ain't wrong. Following Link's 7-year slumber, the Kokiri forest fell into decay. Maido, a Kokiri who never thought fondly of Link, spread rumours that he killed the Great Deku Tree and was to blame for what has happened. And even after 7 years of an absence, Saria backed Link up and stood up for his name. Link wouldn't meet his friend again until after clearing the forest temple. which resulted in Saria being awoken as the Forest Sage. The moment these friends were reunited was filled with joy. Despite having to say goodbye by the end of the conversation, knowing the good old days have passed now, Saria gives Link power through the Forest Medallion, and awaits him awakening the remaining sages in order to seal away Ganondorf. If Link talks to Mido following this, the Kokiri will ask Link if he would help keep a promise that he made to Saria. That promise was to tell Link that Saria had been waiting for him. The strength of this friendship is an unbreakable bond. Even after Link leaves home, after 7 years pass by without contact, their friendship remained as strong as ever. A small, but rather cool reference is made to Saria a lot further down the timeline, in the Age of the Wild. In Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, we can find Saria Lake within the Korok Forest, calling back to Link's childhood best friend from Ocarina of Time. That's us looked at 2 sages now, and whilst there are other sages, I've chosen to talk about these 2 specifically, as I personally find their stories the most interesting. But I must give mention to the other sages: Nabooru, Rauru, Ruto, Darunia, and of course, Princess Zelda. If you feel that they should be covered more in depth, be sure to let me know down below, and maybe I'll make a part 2 to this video. Up the back end of Kakariko Village, we find the Kakariko Graveyard, home to the tomb of the royal family, entrance of the Shadow Temple, but also home to someone. Dampe, the groundskeeper of the graveyard, a man with a hunched back who spends his days and nights tending to the graves. During the day, he typically sleeps in his little hut, but at night, he can be seen walking up and down the graveyard. If Link talks to Dampe between the hours of 6 and 10 PM, Hyrule time, he can pay 10 rupees to take part in Dampe's heart-pounding grave-digging tour, where Dampe will literally try digging wherever Link asks. Link can gain some rupees and a piece of heart through this game. In the child era of the game, there's not much more to Dampe. However, when Link jumps in time 7 years forward, during those years, Dampe unfortunately passed away. Though, if you are to return to the Kakariko Graveyard, you'll be able to find Dampe's ghost inside of his grave, and it's quite the grave. Much like Dampe when he was alive, he has another game Link can play. This time a little different. It's more of a challenge. A race. If Link wins, he's rewarded with the hook shot that Dampe kept in his hut. Now, why do I find Dampe so interesting? Well, it's the knowledge that he possesses that interests me. You see, Kakariko Graveyard is not just a place for those to be laid to rest. There are several secrets that can be found below. For starters, up the back is the royal family's tomb, along with Sharp and Flat's tomb, which Link can enter by playing Zelda's Lullaby, and inside he can learn the Sun Song. There's also Hyrule's dark secret, the Shadow Temple, which lies at the very back of the graveyard, protected by the raised entrance. This place was used by the Hyrulean royal family to torture their enemies. With the help of the Sheikah, many dark things happened here, and I can't imagine that Dampe doesn't know about these things. Whilst locations like this are taboo to speak about to the royal family of Hyrule, and they don't want anyone to know of their actions that happened during the events of the Hyrulean Civil War that took place before the events of the game, Dampe is the groundskeeper. I believe he knows of these dark secrets, at least to some degree if not in full. One lone man who knows too well of Hyrule's bloody past, and whatever else may be hiding in these grounds. I find that incredibly interesting. Staying in the Kakariko Graveyard takes us to our next NPC, or rather, NPCs. I purposely left this part out of the Dampe section as they truly deserve their own. Also found here are the Composer brothers, Sharp and Flat, cleverly named after musical notes. Beside the grave of the royal family, we can find two smaller gravestones on either side. These belong to the brothers. In the time frame we play through, they can be found in here in the form of Poes, looking over and guarding the graveyard. Link can try to speak with them by checking out their gravestones. However, this will result in the brothers attacking him. However, if Link wins in battle, the brothers will back off, realizing that Link is not one of Ganondorf's minions. They then tell us a little bit about themselves, and that they were each studying a song, one to summon the sun, another to summon the moon. Combining both of their studies led to the creation of the Sun Song, which for a long time has been a secret, one that they took to the grave with them. Literally. To learn the Sun Song, as I mentioned in the Dampe section, Link must enter the tomb of the royal family and find the inscribed notes to memorize the song. Before the brothers' passing, they were composers who served the royal family of Hyrule. They were both from Kakariko Village originally, possibly meaning that Sharp and Flat were Sheikah, which would make sense with them serving the royal family. During their life, that we don't actually see in-game, they had another great task: to analyze the hereditary powers of the royal family, which are a bit of a mystery. The brothers were unable to comprehend and fully understand the power of the Triforce, though they did have a good study and understanding on the Ocarina and how the flow of time can be controlled. In fact, Ganondorf himself actually tried to steal their work for his own plans, threatening to end the brothers' lives over this information. Not wanting the King of Evil to use their research for evil doing, the Composer brothers refused to give in, and as a result were murdered by Ganondorf. All in order to protect the secret they spent many years researching. Sharp and Flat are two fascinating characters that often go under the radar. Once upon a time, they were conducting top-secret research for the royal family of Hyrule. They were so dedicated and loyal to their work and the reasons for it that they lost their lives fighting for the protection of said work. A truly noble tale that deserves more recognition. Now, this next NPC could arguably be considered the most interesting in the entire video, though he isn't really part of the story at all. You don't even need to talk to this character or even lay eyes on them. Yet, they tell an incredibly interesting story, and their existence is intriguing. We are talking about the soldier in the back alley of Castletown. So, if you were to head to this back alley upon entering the town, the soldier would not be there. You will find another soldier, but this isn't the one we're talking about. He only appears following Zelda and Impa fleeing, being chased by Ganondorf. A scene that takes place after completing the opening 3 dungeons, the same one we looked at during the Impa segment. If you enter this alleyway following that event, right before heading to the Temple of Time with your newly found Ocarina of Time, you can discover this Hylian soldier on the floor. He says, "Ugh, are you the boy from the forest? I have something to tell you. Ganondorf, the Gerudo King of Thieves, betrayed our king. Zelda's nanny Impa sensed danger and escaped from the castle with our princess. The princess was waiting for a boy from the forest. That's you. She wanted to give something to the boy. If you received it from the princess, hurry to the Temple of Time." After saying that, he just collapses, unresponsive and not moving. The soldier dies right here in front of young Link, lifeless. But why did the developers choose to add this NPC right here? Well, I've heard different theories and ideas as to why. From this being nothing more than a guide point to direct you to the Temple of Time, in case players take a wrong turn in Castletown, to more elaborate theories, such as there formerly being a middle state Castletown, not the cheerful one we find as a child, nor the destroyed one we find as an adult, and in between that would have existed exclusively during the events of Ganondorf chasing out Zelda and Impa, and that this guard would have been involved in the chaos of the town in that state. Instead, he was just left behind by the development team. Whatever the logical case may be, in terms of the in-game lore, this guard adds a unique bit of depth to what happened right before we enter Castletown. He was struck down hard in the chaos of trying to stop Ganondorf, and whilst the soldiers failed to stop the evil king, this brave one right here managed to slow him down. To knock him into this condition, Ganondorf must have had a brief scrap with him, even if it was just to slow down to whack him, likely being what allowed Princess Zelda and Impa to narrowly escape Ganondorf's pursuit. When we encounter this event, Ganondorf is actually a few moments behind, just losing sight of the pair. The soldier in the back alley is quite possibly the very reason Ganondorf wasn't able to catch up. This brave soldier is the very reason they made it out. And time again, his tale goes untold. You don't even need to talk to him. It's only if you come down this back alley you'll discover his tragic tale. In the outskirts of Castletown lies a little storehouse. During the child era of the game, it's rather simple. It contains pots and a guard. And no, the guard is not the NPC in question. Or is he? Rather, the NPC that interests me here can only be found during the adult era. Following Ganondorf's rise to power, in this time frame, the storehouse has been converted and is now inhabited by a mysterious figure known as the Poe Collector. What once contained a bunch of pots and a guard is now the home of this character, dressed in a purple cloak bearing the Hylian crest, equipped with a stick and an interesting personality. If you bring him Poe souls, he'll pay well for them. That's his purpose here. Fair enough. Hyrule is now an evil kingdom with evil things going on. Why not have a headless, ghostly figure who will buy souls off you? Why not? This mysterious character always caught my interest when playing the game. Who is this? Well, there's a theory that some would suggest that this is actually the child seen in the Kakariko graveyard, still holding his stick and liking for graves in the dead. However, I personally believe that the Poe Collector is actually the guard who was once stationed here. Now, I'm not alone in this. This is a popular belief, and I'm behind it. If we look at some of the things the guard says during the child era, and then some of the stuff the Poe Collector says in the adult era, it appears as if these two are one of the same. The guard talks about how boring things are, and that he wishes there was more trouble in the world. An odd thing for a guard to say. Surely peace is better than your own boredom. He also likes to study ghosts, which he tells Link. Now, the Poe Collector says things like this is the only ghost shop in Hyrule, and that because of the great Ganondorf, his business is doing well. If that isn't convincing enough, they both wear a Hylian crest and hold a stick. For me personally, it points towards this being the same person, in very different stages and forms of life. What troubles me, despite adding to the character, is how exactly did such a drastic transformation come about? Was the guard cursed by Ganondorf, or is this some sort of dark magic he learned and performed on himself? We don't know, leaving this NPC an extremely interesting mystery. Situated in central Hyrule lies Lon Lon Ranch, home of Hyrule's rich and creamy milk, a landmark sitting right in the middle of Hyrule Field. This is where we meet one of my personal favourite NPCs in Ocarina of Time, someone who has much more to their story than what is told to us in-game. This is Malon. Despite the ranch being her home, we can first meet Malon just outside Hyrule Castle, singing songs into the night. Link's first encounter with Malon is rather funny, as he needs to take a cuckoo egg from her and bring it to her father Talon, who is found sleeping outside the castle. Following getting her father back to the ranch, Malon returns as well, and whenever Link decides to visit, he'll formally meet Malon. It's at this time that Link meets his iconic steed Epona as well, who at this time is a small horse under the care of Malon. She stands in the middle of the horse field, singing to the steeds and ensuring a relaxing home for them. It's here that Malon also teaches Link how to play Epona's song, a melody that when played would bring Epona running over, something Link would use in the near future. Malon is a kind soul, with a real caring nature for the horses at the ranch. She makes sure they are well, sings to them, and this is where her heart lies. However, things would take an unfortunate turn at the ranch when Ganondorf took over during Link's 7-year slumber. Her father Talon was axed by his business partner Ingo, banishing him from the ranch. Malon, an adult now, still works in this toxic environment out of fear for the abuse the horses would receive if she wasn't there. Ingo is a nasty man with no heart for the animals. He even has plans to give Epona to the evil King Ganondorf, because she was too hard to tame for him. That's where Link steps in and races Ingo for the ownership of Epona. Despite winning, Link is told he can't have her due to the horse being for Ganondorf, but as the saying goes, a bet's a bet, and Link can jump over the ranch fence or gate to escape with Epona, rightfully his horse now. Upon this return, Malon doesn't initially recognize Link. It takes a moment before she realizes that this is the fairy boy she met 7 years ago, the boy from the forest she bonded with and taught Epona's song to. She's very happy to see him again, given all the bad things going on at the ranch at this time. The relationship between Malon and Link has been long shipped by fans. Whilst Zelda and Saria would be compatible with the hero as well, Malon is typically the most popular person that this Link is shipped with, and there's more to it than just a typical fandom ship. There are countless theories that following the adventures of the Hero of Time, he settled down with Malon to start a family, as we know that the Hero of Time has a descendant, the Hero of Twilight, that was seen further down the child timeline during the events of Twilight Princess. With another character who we will definitely look at more in the Twilight Princess episode, the Hero Shade, who is believed to be the Hero of Time. One big reason it's believed that Link got together with Malon is because of what a gossip stone tells us in Ocarina of Time. It tells us that Malon dreams of a knight sweeping her off her feet and taking her away. Whilst not enrolled in the Highline Army, Link is a skilled swordsman who could be considered a knight. Not to mention that Link in Twilight Princess, the one we believe is the descendant of the Hero of Time and Malon, is a ranch worker, much like Malon. He also already knows Epona's song from the get-go, as if it had been passed through their family. It could all be a coincidence, of course, but when looking at the in-game lore, every little detail counts, and I am a believer of this theory. Some other cool details and facts about Malon are the pendant she wears. It's Bowser from Super Mario, which is a cool little reference, especially as her father and his business partner resemble Mario and Luigi with their clothing choices and builds. Her dress also takes on the patterns seen on the Lon Lon milk bottles, perhaps a sort of uniform or just a style choice. Last but not least, one of my favourite little references that further ties into the Hero of Twilight being a descendant. In the Hyrule Field night theme in Twilight Princess, we can hear vocals that sound incredibly like that of Malon's singing, something we can also find in the Akana Valley track in Majora's Mask, the direct sequel to Ocarina of Time. In the iconic Kakariko Windmill, we can find one of the most famous NPCs in the entire Zelda series. This is the home of the Phonogram Man. He stands in here playing his phonogram, trying to compose a musical piece inspired by the windmill itself. He loves the psychality of it, even saying he himself loves to go around and around. This is funny because what makes him so interesting is that he is responsible for creating a time loop built around the cycle of the windmill. The Song of Storms paradox, the Kakariko Windmill paradox, or the Windmill Hut Guy paradox are just a few names that this story goes by. It's well known and well documented within the Zelda community, but allow me to tell you the tale. When Link first meets the man, he is more than happy to speak with Link. It's nothing more than a friendly interaction. However, when Link jumps 7 years into the future, if he returns, he won't encounter that happy man he did in the past. Rather, the Phonogram Man doesn't recognize Link as an adult. That is, until Link pulls out his Ocarina of Time. It's in this moment that the Phonogram Man becomes angry. Much to Link's confusion, the man begins to angrily recollect the day that a boy tampered with the windmill by playing the Song of Storms. He's referring to Link, only Link hasn't learned it yet. The Phonogram Man then plays it to demonstrate, but this is the first time Link is taught that tune. The in-game purpose of this is so that Link can return to the past and play the song then, in order to drain the bottom of the well. In doing so, he closes the time loop, having now taught the song to the Phonogram Man. This NPC is a paradox, part of a time loop that Link encounters wide open, but is an essential part of closing, and it involves one of the most iconic and well-known songs in the Zelda series, the Song of Storms. I wanted to open this episode with a banger, and the Phonogram Man's story is as good as it gets. Found high up Death Mountain, inside Goron City, we can encounter the mighty leader of the Rock-Eating Brothers, Darunia. He's a serious and strict leader. However, if you can get past these barriers, he's got a big heart and loves to dance. Prior to Link setting off on his adventure, Ganondorf paid the Gorons a visit, demanding that they hand over their sacred Goron Ruby. As a threat, the Gerudo King claimed that if Darunia didn't hand it over, he'd seal the entrance to Dodongo's cavern, the main food source of the Gorons, which would force them to starve. Darunia, being the brave leader he is, said no to Ganondorf, standing his ground, for not just himself, but his brothers. Ganondorf of course then sealed off the entrance to the cavern, and worry set in for the Goron's future. The sacred Goron Ruby can actually be consumed, and temptation grew within the Gorons due to their situation. So Darunia decided to hold on tight to the ruby, locking himself away in his room awaiting the messenger from the royal family of Hyrule. That's where Link steps in, as he plays Zelda's lullaby to enter the room, and speak with the Goron leader. However, Darunia wasn't sold on Link, a boy being this messenger, and initially doesn't speak of the ruby to him, which, logically speaking, could have been cleared up by the note Link was given in order to get past the guard at the foot of Death Mountain, signed and sealed by Princess Zelda. But we'll put this down to video game logic. Instead, Link must go learn Saria's song, as he is told by other Gorons in the city that to get on Darunia's good side, you need to get him dancing. The Goron chief loves his music. Whilst this doesn't get Link the Goron Ruby, it does open up a way for him to earn it. The task? Entering Dodongo's cavern and clearing out the danger. Once complete, Link is rewarded by Darunia with the Goron Ruby, allowing the young hero to progress in his adventure. This leaves Darunia happy for what Link has done for himself and his people. He even asks Link to become his sworn brother, a great honour that symbolised the giving of the Goron Ruby. We encounter Darunia again as an adult. During the time between encounters, the Goron leader has a son, who Darunia actually named after his friend and the Goron savior, Link. The Goron chief told his son so much about the hero, calling him the legendary Dodongo Buster. Link is a well-known character to the Gorons, and Darunia holds him in very high regards. As an adult, Link once again is helping the Gorons face an evil threat from Ganondorf. This time, a much more sinister evil, as the King of Evil resurrected the ancient dragon Volvagia, a creature said to devour Gorons. In fact, Ganondorf even had several Gorons locked up within the Fire Temple, deep within the flames of the mountain. Link once again helps his sworn brother out, and enters the Fire Temple to free the Gorons and slay Volvagia. Directly after defeating the dragon, Link is teleported to the Chamber of Sages, where it's revealed that Darunia is the Sage of Fire. He is extremely thankful for Link saving his people for a second time, quickly reminding the hero that they are brothers. This time, he gives Link the Fire Medallion, and the hero pushes on with his quest to take down Ganondorf. Darunia is part of a long line of Gorons, the full extent of which we don't know. Another cool wee fact is that Divine Beast Vah Rudania is actually named after Darunia. It's an anagram from the former Goron leader. Bonus fact, his name originally comes from Darunia Town in the second Legend of Zelda game, The Adventure of Link. This is a reoccurring theme for the sages in this game. Far out in the distant reaches of the Gerudo Desert, inside the mighty desert colossus, we can encounter Nabooru. Initially as a child, Link meets the Gerudo, and unlike most Gerudo Link might have encountered or heard about thus far, Nabooru doesn't hold any hostility or aggression against him. It turns out she is anti-Ganondorf. In this time frame, the Gerudo people are still loyal to the King of Evil for the most part, but not Nabooru. She sees the morally wrong intentions of Ganondorf and his ways of going about things. She's trying to acquire the Silver Gauntlets, but they're out of her reach, so Link helps her get them as they'd be helpful in infiltrating Ganondorf's headquarters. However, when Link does acquire them, Ganondorf's surrogate mothers, Kotake and Kyume, who are also situated in this temple, intervene and capture Nabooru. Link is directed to safety in the nick of time, due to return in the adult era. When Link does return as an adult, Nabooru has been brainwashed by the witches, and she plays an interesting role in this dungeon. The mini-boss that Link encounters is an Iron Knuckle, or so he thinks. When he encounters the large suit of armor, both Kotake and Kyume are doing something with it. They command the unit to attack Link, and this forces him into battle. However, upon Link defeating the Knuckle, the armor breaks off piece by piece, and inside is Nabooru. The exhalated Gerudo is free, or so we thought. The witches appear before Link can properly get to her, and they take Nabooru away once again. It's not until Link defeats the final bosses, Kotake and Kyume, that Nabooru would truly be free and revealed as the Sage of Spirit, giving Link the Spirit Medallion. Like Darunia, Nabooru also has connections far down the timeline. Divine Beast Vah Naboris in Breath of the Wild is also an anagram for Nabooru, continuing the legacy of this famous sage. Also like Darunia, her name originally comes from a town in Zelda 2. In The Wind Waker, inside Hyrule Castle down in the basement levels, we can see a depiction of Nabooru and the other sages on these stained glass portraits, calling back to the game which at this point in time would have been around 100 years ago. And a fun fact about Nabooru is that she's the very first individual Gerudo to not be a foe of Link's. She's an ally on his side, something we wouldn't see again until Riju in Breath of the Wild. She's important because not only is she the Sage of Spirit, but this is the first time we saw a Gerudo warrior oppose Ganondorf, the one Gerudo male born every 100 years. Returning to Kakariko Village, in one of the homes here, we can find a fascinating character and his family. This is the Cursed Rich Man, a nameless man who resides within the House of Skulltula, along with his cursed sons. Once upon a time, this family was rich. Not just well off, but wealthy. However, It was due to their divine greed that they became cursed, and took this half form of Skulltulas. They appear in this haunting half-and-half form, a Skulltula base with limbs and body parts sticking out. If Link speaks with the man, he explains that the only way to lift the curse from his family is to find and destroy all 100 golden Skulltulas across Hyrule. The incentive for Link to do this is money. The cursed man promises Link sums of rupees for helping to free his family. Each time Link returns after completing a set of golden Skulltulas, he is rewarded. But who exactly cursed the family in the first place? Well, it's nobody specific. Apparently, the lore states that it was the golden Skulltulas themselves that did this. Perhaps meaning that these creatures have some way of sensing extreme greed, and punishing those who take that too far. The levels of wealth they once had spread to the reaches of Zora's domain. One Zora at the domain references the family in relation to the Zora tunic, saying only someone like them could afford such a piece. If Link does collect all 100 gold Skulltula tokens, the man and his family will have the curse lifted, and we can talk to them in their normal form. This isn't the only instance of a rich man suffering from his greed in the Zelda series, but for the next instance, we'll have to wait for the Twilight Princess episode. Rauru, also known as Kepora Gibora, is the Sage of Light. We first encounter this notorious owl after setting out to Hyrule Field for the first time. At this point in time, Link has no clue who this is. He's just a talking owl who helps to direct the hero in the right direction. But in reality, this is the owl form of Rauru. Most well known for infuriating generations by asking if we want to hear his dialogue again, and most of us accidentally hitting yes. Sometimes more than once. However, there is some genuinely fascinating lore and backstory behind this character. We first meet Rauru in his sage form after Link draws the Master Sword for the first time, allowing Ganondorf to sneak in, and resulting in the hero being kept within the Chamber of Sages for 7 years. It's when Link wakes up that he is face to face with the Sage of Light, who quickly explains to Link that he has been stuck here until he came of an age to be the hero, telling him that Ganondorf has taken over the kingdom, and that basically, Link must go deal with that. Rauru gives Link the Light Medallion, and sends him on his way to awaken the other sages so together, they can seal away the evil. Unlike the other sages, Rauru has an extremely interesting backstory. During the Era of Chaos, not long before Hyrule as a kingdom was established, it's said that Rauru built the Temple of Time, directly over the remains of the sealed temple deep within the Faron Woods. This protected the Triforce during the Interloper conflict, which, in short, was a war for control of the Triforce in Sacred Realm. If you want to learn more about this conflict in detail, I have a lore video going over it, link below. Rauru chose the name Temple of Time from legends told from the era of Skyward Sword, a hero who wielded the Blade of Evil's Bane and travelled between two time periods. The temple is named after Link's time travelling. Rauru chose to remain within the Temple of Light, located in the centre of the Sacred Realm, leaving the watch to Kepora Gibora, his wise and watchful owl form. Knowledge of the Sacred Realm slowly faded into legend over the years, along with the name, Rauru. For the longest time, it wasn't actually confirmed that Rauru and Kepora Gibora were the same character. It was in 2011, 13 years after the release of Ocarina of Time, that it was confirmed in the Hyrule Historia book. It was pretty likely given their similar characteristics, but this was the official confirmation. Like the other sages already talked about, Rauru's name also appears in Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. Rauru Town can be found in this game. In this timeline, perhaps the name didn't fade entirely. Now, something that has led to some interesting theories, but also confusions, is the name of the king we see in Tears of the Kingdom. or rather, the founding era shown to us in Tears of the Kingdom. In that game, we meet another Rauru, this time the first king of Hyrule, who is Zonai. It hasn't really been explained if he is one of the same, just depicted massively different. There's strong theories that this era of founding isn't the same as the one seen in Skyward Sword, the original founding of Hyrule, but rather a refounding of the kingdom many ages later, starting its own new timeline essentially. And it's one of these things where we probably won't get a definitive answer, not anytime soon anyway. In Skyward Sword, we also meet a character named Gaepora, who strikes a resemblance to Rauru in one particular area. I believe this is just a little reference, but it's worth pointing out. Up the back of Zora's domain, at Zora Fountain, we can enter Lord Jabu Jabu's belly, who acts as the game's third dungeon. Inside here, we meet one of the most annoying characters in the Zelda series, Princess Ruto. The currently missing daughter of King Zora. She found herself trapped inside this deity as she carelessly dropped the Zora Sapphire, one of the 3 spiritual stones that Link is after, in the water. She dropped it in the water, which was then swallowed by Lord Jabu Jabu, who in recent times has been acting weird, now with the Zora Princess trapped inside. Ruto is quite the character. Despite being trapped with no help other than Link when he reaches her, she displays quite the negative and entitled attitude towards the hero. I think it's fair to say that she's a bit of a spoiled princess. No matter how much Link helps her, she gives him an attitude. As a player, the amount of times I wanted to just leave her and do it myself was unreal. Unfortunately, you do need to work with the princess, and it's through her that Link obtains the Zora Sapphire. After clearing the boss and cleansing Lord Jabu Jabu of the parasites inside his gut, Link and Ruto are teleported out. Princess Ruto's mood changes here, her attitude vanishes, and she kindly gives Link the Zora Sapphire. However, Link is not fully aware of the implications that brings. The relic is used in Zora royalty as an engagement ring. At this moment, Link technically becomes engaged to the Zora princess. It's not until the pair meet again as adults that this fact really sets in. As Link is going through the Water Temple quest, he really learns of this fact. However, thankfully for the dashing and single hero, after beating the Water Temple and awakening Ruto as the Sage of Water, she puts their engagement on an indefinite hold due to her role as a sage, allowing our stallion of a hero to get mingling. Like the other sages, her name also calls back to a location in Zelda 2, Ruto Town. Her name is also referenced in Divine Beast Varuta, not an anagram, but a clear reference to the name. Some other small details of interest are that in Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks, we can find Ruto crowns, an item said to have been worn by princesses of the Zora royal family. In Breath of the Wild, we can also find a stone monument that details Ruto's story, a unique and cool part of documenting Zora history. Before getting into the final NPC of the video, I have a few honourable mentions that I'd like to bring up. These characters are interesting for smaller reasons, such as just their personalities or little oddities. So, here we go. In the heart of Hyrule Castletown, we can find the Happy Mask shop in the market centre, owned and run by the Happy Mask Salesman. A cheerful man who sells masks, funny enough, through a unique borrowing and selling system. Link can work with him to help sell masks through a trading sequence quest. Link borrows a mask and tries to sell it. If he makes 4 sales, he receives the Mask of Truth, which allows him to understand the Gossip Stones, as well as the ability to return whenever and borrow the previously sold masks. It's fair to say the Salesman is an interesting character. He's well-travelled and has a lot of interesting knowledge. He possesses many fascinating and curious masks, some rather basic and others quite mysterious. Whilst typically a very happy guy, the Salesman's mood can swiftly change if Link returns without enough rupees from selling his masks. He snaps, becoming angry and threatens Link. Though, if Link leaves and gives him time to cool off, everything will be forgotten when the hero returns. When Ganondorf takes over the kingdom during Link's 7-year absence, the Happy Mask Salesman leaves town with his collection. It's not known where he went during this time, but he is seen again during the game's credits after Link is sent back in time, celebrating at Lon Lon Ranch. However, his story does not end here. As many of you may know, the Happy Mask Salesman becomes a key character in the sequel to Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask. He goes from a mask salesman in Castletown to an extremely mysterious and in many ways unexplained character with many questions surrounding him and who he truly is. However, that lore dive will have to wait for the next episodes, where we will be visiting Termina and looking at the lore of Zelda's NPCs in Majora's Mask.